your enemies. Of your enemies. The brother man you helped who was on the ground is the same brother man who tried to shoot you down. With a smile on his face and a gun in his hand, he's glad to take the life of his brother man. Beware of your enemies. Beware of your enemies. Beware of your enemies. Beware of your enemies. I've tried at times to have comfort and peace of mind. Try to resist the wickedness that now exists. But those hard-hearted people trying to tempt my soul, they'll do everything in their power to wipe me away from the face of the earth. Of your enemies. Beware of your enemies. Beware.
Is what anti-Semitism is. It's really about learning the root words of where these come from and understanding that this is an African heritage that is also belonging to the people. Africa is in it, whether we want to dismiss it or not. So the claims of anti-Semitism and who are the original chosen people of God, and we go into these religious conversations and it's a big no-no. I don't live my way like that.
So I saw the person say, we're all God's children, and yeah, we are. But he has his tribe, his chosen, and I know who I am, and that's what I was talking about. And so in order to know what I was talking about, you gotta study that, to show thyself. You gotta study, you gotta get in the book. You cannot depend on the law of the land. You cannot depend on the government. You cannot depend on certain things. You gotta depend on the book. What's the book? That's the word. That's the Bible.
Catch them on Cinco de Mayo. See how it goes down. But it was a threat. Yeah. That's when it hit me to realize we're not a threat.
And we got to become that.
And we have to become a threat.
Please go look up who are the 12 tribes.
Get your identity first. Your identity is greater than just who your daddy is and who your mama is. You got to understand what you're connected to, so you'll know what you're responsible for and what you're entitled to. Don't let social media, don't let these different TV shows, and I ain't gonna call none of them out, get you convinced that your identity is something else than it is. And once you know who you are, you'll know exactly what you're not.
Yep.
And when you know who you are, you know how you shouldn't walk, how you shouldn't dress, how you shouldn't speak. A lot of people will come, boy, I'm telling you, I don't want to get in no trouble.
If Jewish people would accept that I'm Jew, then they would see what I'm saying in a different way. They would hear it in a different way.
But see, the people, you saying you're Jewish, that
No, I'm Jew, not Jewish. Jewish means like that of a Jew. I'm saying I'm Jew.
you're Jew.
Blood of Christ.
That
Orthodox
comes
Christian.
from, right. But that are you a follower of the philosophy of the black Hebrew Israelites? Because that's where the idea comes from. Not all of those folks are extremists, but some are extremists.
I can give all praise, honor, and glory to our Heavenly Father, to His Son, and to His Holy Spirit, the one and only divine Elohim of our forefathers, from Adam to the patriarchs, to the prophets, to the apostles, and to the scattered abroad. I want to say shalom. In this segment, we'll be dealing with part 4 of the reading of Maccabees. But before we get into that, I want to talk about a few things. The opening song was from a deep roots reggae selection. It's called Beware of Your Enemies. And that notion is real prevalent to the times that we're in, and to what we're reading, dealing with Maccabees. We see that our people were in a time of great affliction, great oppression, the Greek rulership of our people. We see how they did our temple. They came in and they robbed our temple. They took all of the valuable things, like the Most High said in Joel 3, my silver and my gold. They robbed the temple. They murdered innocent people among our people. They caused our people to forget their heritage and their culture, forget the laws of the Most High. They forced our people to partake in uncleanness, sacrificing unclean animals on the altar and forcing our people to partake in those things. So it's clear for those who have eyes to see who our enemies are on the outside. But we also read about wicked men among our people who wanted to make alliances with the heathen and to continue to cause our people to go astray from the Most High. They worked in efforts to have some of our great leaders assassinated and killed. And oftentimes those things didn't work out, but then we also see how the other nations infiltrated our people. We saw how they used the means of coming in peace as a means to infiltrate. We read how a lot of our great leaders fell astray as a result of that. And we understand why the Most High said not to make leagues, covenants, or any type of connections with the heathens, which He considers our enemies. And so beware is the key. Beware of who your enemies are by being aware of what the Most High's way is. The Most High's way reveals to us who our enemies are. Whenever we're in favor with the Most High, we see that we prosper as a people. And when we prosper as a people, that grieves the other nations. We read how when the temple was restored under Judas Maccabees, how once the temple was restored, how that grieved the nations, how the Gentiles were grieved at that. They were grieved at our glory. Because once again, when we're operating under our true constitution as a people, which is the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High, that sets us above the nations. The Most High has a hierarchy in the heaven. He has a hierarchy in the earth. We see now that we're at the tail of all nations, and we're subject to the kingdoms and the peoples that the scripture determined would be ruling in the end times, which is Babylon. They are the superior kingdom in the earth right now. There's a video circulating around where there's a white guy, he's a teacher, and he's having a conversation with the students in his class. And he pretty much touched on the point that I bring out oftentimes when it comes to racism. Whenever we hear that word, most people get triggered at that word racism, and they automatically think that you're talking about hatred for other people outside of yourself. But that's not necessarily what racism is. But whenever people hear that word, they interpret it that way. And what he expressed to those students basically is that he sees he sees himself and his people as the superior race. And then he mentioned how he believes that everybody is racist in that regard, or everybody is racist in terms of them putting themselves and them people first, and the needs of their people first before anybody else's. And he's true, except for when it regards our people. We don't practice that form of racism. As a matter of fact, we don't practice any form of racism at all, because without a culture, without togetherness, you don't have that kind of power. You can't exercise that kind of racism. But we're triggered and designed to hear that word and automatically think hatred. And oftentimes we apply it to ourselves before we apply it to anybody else. You'll hear those of our people will say black people are more racist than white people, based on the anger and the frustration that's expressed due to the racism that they exercise and the power that they use to exercise their racism. We're frustrated because no matter what we do as a people, nothing prospers. It's not because we're just a messed up people. It's because of the curse that we're under due to the scripture. And there's an end coming to that. But in all our getting, we should get understanding and understand that. So when it comes to that racism, they said he got fired from his job for that. But in any case, what he said, in my view, was not offensive. It was just out of place. He probably shouldn't have said that to them, especially the young black brothers. They don't understand that, He's saying, I'm not racist. That's what the young black guy was saying. Saying, I'm not racist. And that's true. But once again, when you hear that word, you're automatically programmed to think hate. And they'll tell you that you're using reverse racism, when if you look at the end result, none of their people are being harmed. They're not losing any power. They're not losing any of their heritage or culture based on how some of our people express their feelings toward their people. There's no real effect on them for that, other than maybe the spirit of guilt that most of them have innately. Most of them already have a spirit of guilt based on that. They're just more so concerned about your reaction and if you're going to react, or how you pretty much feel about things, about the issue altogether. And if you're one of those brothers or sisters who, want to pretend like it doesn't matter and nothing happened, then maybe they can get along with you. That's usually how it works. But we have to be aware of our enemies, be aware of the fact that we're in the land of our enemies, behind enemy lines. We have to be aware that our enemies are crafty, and we have to most of all be aware that there are some amongst us that are enemies of our people. It's like we read, wicked people amongst our people that hated their own people. We have a lot of those. But in any case, we're going to get into it. This is the book of 1 Maccabees, part 4, the conclusion. Feel free to go back and look at parts 1, 2, and 3. Where we left off was when Jonathan took over for Judas Maccabees, who was killed during war. And so Jonathan took over, and the Most High was with him, and he overcame his enemies and defended the people and restored a lot of things for our people. But he was, in my view, he was a little too friendly with the other nations, and he made a lot of leagues with the nations. They made one league with Rome as a means to come from under the Greek yoke. And so they made a covenant with the Greeks, which the king of the Greeks, once he used our people to win a war, he turned back on the agreement. We saw that happen in a few times with our people, a lot of times throughout this reading. And so Jonathan took over, and he pretty much did the same thing. He made leagues and covenants, and he ended up getting assassinated. Him and his sons getting assassinated, and the people that were with him, because there was a what was his name? I forget his name. His name was Tryphon was his name. He was with Demetrios. Demetrios was killed. Tryphon decided he wanted to take over the throne of Alexandrios because Alexandrios' son took over. So he wanted to go down into Talmay to kill the king there, but he knew that Jonathan would fight against him for it. So Jonathan came out with his army and met Tryphon's army, and instead of him fighting him, he greeted him, saluted him, gave him gifts and everything, and he convinced Jonathan to send some of his army back. So Jonathan, trusting him, sent some of his army back. And once he did that, they invited him to said that they invited him to a banquet. And while at that banquet, he assassinated him. He had Jonathan and those that were with him assassinated. And so once that happened, now our people are at a point where they're vulnerable again and don't have a ruler. And so let's see what happens from that point. We're in the 13th chapter of 1 Maccabees. So that'll be where we pick it up. Hold on. Let me share the screen. I thought I already had it up. All right, so we're in the 13th chapter. It says, hold on. The 13th chapter says, now when Simon heard that Tryphon had gathered together a great host to invade the land of Judah and destroy it, and saw that the people was in great trembling and fear, he went up to Jerusalem and gathered the people together. So Simon is now next in line. It says, and he gave them exhortation, saying, ye yourselves know what great things I and my brethren and my father's house have done for the law of Yahweh and the sanctuary, the battles also and troubles which we have seen, by reason whereof all my brethren are slain for Israel's sake, and I am left alone. It says, now therefore be it far from me that I should spare mine own life in any time of trouble, for I am no better than my brethren. Doubtless I will avenge my nation and the sanctuary of Yahweh and our wives and our children, for all the heathen are gathered to destroy us of very malice. Now, as soon as the people heard these words, their ruach revived. All right, so now Simon is next in line, taking over, because the people are vulnerable now, and now the people are revived because Simon is now stepped up to the plate in place of all his father and all his brothers. And they answered with a loud voice, saying, thou shalt be our leader instead of Judah and Jonathan, thy brother. For though our battles and whatsoever thou commanded us, that we will do. So then he gathered together all the men of war and made haste to finish the walls of Jerusalem, and he fortified it round about. Also, he sent Jonathan, the son of Absalom, and with him a great power unto Joppa, who casting out them that were therein, remained there in it. So Tryphon removed from Ptolemais with a great power to invade the land of Judah, and Jonathan was with him in ward. But Simon pitched his tents at Kedida over against him. So Tryphon, who pretty much conspired to sit on the throne of Alexandrius, went down into Ptolemais, overthrew it, and now it says that he had Jonathan in ward. All right. But Simon pitched his tent in Kedida over against the plain. Now, when Tryphon knew that Simon was risen up instead of his brother Jonathan, he meant to join battle with him. He sent messengers unto him, saying, whereas we have Jonathan thy brother in hold, it is for money that he is owing unto the king's treasure concerning the business that was committed unto him. Wherefore now send 100 talents of silver and 2 of his sons for hostages, that when he is at liberty, he may not revolt from us, and we will let him go. Hereupon Simon, albeit he perceived that they spake deceitfully unto him, yet sent he the money and the children, lest peradventure he should procure to himself great hatred of the people. So Tryphon is now telling Simon, we got Jonathan in ward, and if you want him back, give us money and send 2 of his children, because he's saying that Simon owed them money. But that wasn't true at all. So Simon pretty much granted his request, although he didn't want to do it. It says, who might have said, because I sent him not the money and the children, therefore Jonathan is dead. So he sent it because he didn't want to, he didn't want the people turning on him and having Jonathan killed. So he sent them the children and the 100 talents. Howbeit, Tryphon disassembled, neither would he let Jonathan go. Once again, you want to talk about treaty breaking. Most of the times when you hear about broken treaties, you relate that to the Native Americans. Hold on one second. Wow. Hold on. Most of the times when you hear about treaties, like I said, you hear about the Native Americans. But how many treaties were broken between our forefathers during this time? And these the same kingdoms we under now, from ancient times to now. So he dissembled, neither would he let Jonathan go. And after this came Tryphon to invade the land and to destroy it, going round about the way that leadeth unto Adora. But Simon and his host marched against him in every place wheresoever he went. Now they that were in the tower sent messengers unto Tryphon, to the end that he should hasten his coming unto them by the wilderness, and send them victuals. Whereupon Tryphon made ready all his horsemen to come that night. But there fell a very great snow, by reason whereof he came not. So he departed and came into the country of Gilead. And when he came near to Bascama, he slew Jonathan, who was buried there. Afterward, Tryphon returned and went into his own land. So he slew Jonathan after dissembling on the agreement. Then sent Simon and took the bones of Jonathan his brother and buried them in Modin, the city of his fathers. And all Israel made great lamentation for him and bewailed him many days. Simon also built a monument upon the sepulchre of his father and his brethren, and raised it aloft to the site with hewn stone behind and before. Hold on one second. All right, I'm in 27. Simon also built a monument upon the sepulchre of his father and his brethren, and raised it aloft to the site with hewn stone behind and before. Moreover, he set up 7 pyramids, one against another, for his father and his mother and his 4 brethren. Said he set up 7 pyramids, one against another, for his father and his mother and his 4 brethren. Some good archaeology notes. They talk about pyramids all the time, and how these is ancient sculptures and all the different types of people who made pyramids. It says, and in these he made cunning devices, about the which he set great pillars. And upon the pillars he made all their armor for a perpetual memory, and by the armor ships carved, and they that it says, and by the armor ships carved, that they might be seen of all that sail the sea. So this is the actual location that they probably don't want us to know about or reveal to us under some other guise of history. Gonna be bringing some of that out too. It says, this is the sepulchre which he made at Modin, and it standeth yet unto this day. Once again, this is a note. Now Tryphon dealt deceitfully with the young king Antiochus and slew him. And he reigned in his stead and crowned himself king of Asia, and brought a great calamity upon the land. Then Simon built up the strongholds in Judah, and fenced them about with high towers and great walls and gates and bars, and laid up victuals therein. Moreover, Simon chose men and sent the king Demetrios, to the end he should give the land an immunity, because all that Tryphon did was to spoil. Unto whom King Demetrios answered and wrote after this manner. Here we go. King Demetrios unto Simon the high priest, and friend of kings, as also unto the elders and nation of the Jews, sendeth greeting. The golden crown and the scarlet robe, which he sent unto us, we have received, and we are ready to make a steadfast peace with you. Yea, and to write unto our officers to confirm the immunities. Just one puppet? Oh, wait a minute. All right, let me go back. It says, the golden crown and the scarlet robe which he sent unto us, we have received, and we are ready to make a steadfast peace with you. Yea, and to write unto our officers to confirm the immunities which we have granted. And whatsoever covenants we have made with you shall stand, and be strongholds, and the strongholds which ye have builded shall be your own. As for any oversight or fault committed unto this day, we forgive it, and the crown tax also which ye owe us. And if there were any other tribute paid in Jerusalem, it shall no more be paid. And look who are meet among you to be in our court, then let be enrolled, and let there be peace between us. It's the same thing he offered to Jonathan. Jonathan turned it down. Thus the yoke of the heathen was taken away from Israel in the 170th year. Then the people of Israel began to write in their instruments and contracts in the first year of Simon the high priest, the governor and leader of the Jews. In those days, Simon camped against Gaza and besieged it round about. He made also an engine of war and set it by the city, and battered a certain tower and took it. And they that were in the engine leaped into the city, whereupon there was a great uproar in the city. And so much as the people of the city rent their clothes and climbed upon the walls with their wives and children, and cried with a loud voice, beseeching Simon to grant them peace. And they said, deal not with us according to our wickedness, but according to thy mercy. So Simon was appeasing toward them. He was appeased toward them, and fought no more against them, but put them out of the city, and cleansed the houses wherein the idols were, and so entered into it with psalms and thanksgiving. Yea, he put all uncleanness out of it, and placed such men there as would keep the law of Yahweh, and made it stronger than it was before, and built therein a dwelling place for himself. They also of the tower in Jerusalem were kept so straight that they could neither come forth nor go into the country, nor buy nor sell. Wherefore they were in great distress for want of victuals, and a great number of them perished through famine. Then cried they to Simon, beseeching him to be at one with them, which thing he granted them. And when he had put them out thence, he cleansed the tower from pollutions. So now he getting rid of all those people that was set up in the city by the heathen, and entered into it the 23rd day of the second month, in the 171st year. And they praised Yahweh with branches of palms, and with harps, and with cymbals, and with viols, and hymns, and songs, because there was destroyed a great enemy out of Israel. He ordained also that that day should be kept every year with gladness. Moreover, the hill of the temple that was by the tower he made stronger than it was, and there he dwelt himself with his company. And when Simon saw that Jonathan his son was a valiant man, he made him captain of all the hosts, and he dwelt in Uzzah. He dwelt there in Uzzah. We have 14. It says, now in the 163 year, King Demetrios. Okay. Now in the 163 year, King Demetrios gathered his forces together and went into Madai to get him help to fight against Tryphon. All right. But when Arshaki, the king of Paras and Madai, heard that Demetrios was entered within his border, he sent one of his princes to take him alive, who went and smote the host of Demetrios and took him and brought him to Arshaki, by whom he was put in ward. As for the land of Judah, that was quiet all the days of Simon, for he sought the good of his nation in such wise as that evermore his authority and honor pleased them well. And as he was honorable in all his acts, so in this, that he took Yopa for a haven and made an entrance to the isles of the sea, and enlarged the bounds of his nation and recovered the country, and gathered together a great number of captives, and had the dominion of Uzzah and Bet-Zuar and the tower, out of the which he took all uncleanness. Neither was there any that resisted him. Then did they till their ground in peace, and the earth gave her increase, and the trees of the field their fruit. The ancient men sat all in the streets, communing together of good things, and the young men put on glorious and warlike apparel. He provided victuals for the cities, and set in them all manner of munition, so that his honorable name was renowned unto the end of the world. He made peace in the land, and all Israel rejoiced with great joy. For every man sat under his vine and his fig tree, and there was none to fray them, neither was there any left in the land to fight against them. Yea, the kings themselves were overthrown in those days. Moreover, he strengthened all those of his people that were brought low. The law he searched out, and every contemner of the law of Yahuwah and wicked person he took away. He beautified the sanctuary of Yahuwah and multiplied vessels of the temple. So when it was heard at Rome and as far as Sparta that Jonathan was dead, they were very sorry. But as soon as they heard that his brother Simon was made high priest in his stead and ruled the country and the cities therein, they wrote unto him in tables of brass to renew the friendship and league which they had made with Judah and Jonathan his brethren, which writings were read before the congregation at Jerusalem. And this is the copy of the letters that the Spartans sent, the rulers of the Spartans, with the city unto Simon the high priest, and the elders and priests, and residue of the people of the Jews, our brethren, send greeting. The ambassadors that were sent unto our people certified us of your glory and honor, wherefore we were glad of their coming, and did register the things that they spake into the council of the people in this manner. Numenios, son of Antiochus, and Antipater, son of Yeshua, the Jews' ambassadors, came unto us to renew the friendship they had with us, and it pleased the people to entertain the men honorably, and to put the copy of their ambassage in public records, to the end the people of the Spartans might have a memorial thereof. Furthermore, we have written a copy thereof unto Simon the high priest. After this, Simon sent Numenios to Rome with a great shield of gold of 1,000 pound weight, to confirm the league with them. Whereof when the people heard, they said, what thanks shall we give to Simon and his sons? For he and his brethren and the house of his father have established Israel and chased away and fight their enemies from them and confirmed their liberty. So then they wrote in it tables of brass. They wrote it in tables of brass, which they set upon pillars in Mount Zion. And this is the copy of the writing. The 18th day of the month Elul, in the 163 year, being the 3rd year of Simon the high priest, at Modin, in the great congregation of the priests and people and rulers of the nation and elders of the country, were these things notified unto us. For as much as oftentimes there have been wars in the country, wherein for the maintenance of their sanctuary and the law of Yahweh, Simon the son of Mattathiah of the posterity of Yoyarib, together with his brethren, put themselves in jeopardy, and resisting the enemies of their great nation, did their nation great honor. For after that, Jonathan, having gathered his nation together and been their high priest, was added to his people. Their enemies prepared to invade their country, that they might destroy it and lay hands on the law of Yahweh and his sanctuary, at which time Simon rose up and fought for his nation, and spent much of his own substance, and armed the valiant men of his nation, and gave them wages, and fortified the cities of Judah together with Beth-Zuar, that lieth upon the borders of Judah, where the armor of the enemies had been before. But he set a garrison of Jews there. Moreover, he fortified Joppa, which lieth upon the sea, and Uzzah that bordereth upon Ashdod, where the enemies had dwelt before. But he placed Jews there, and furnished them with all things convenient for the reparation thereof. The people therefore sang the acts of Simon, and unto what glory he thought to bring his nation, made him their governor and chief priest, because he had done all these things, and for the justice and faith which he kept to all his nation, and for that he sought by all means to exalt his people. This was the true intent of all of the people who stood up. It says, for that he sought by all means to exalt his people. And Yahuwah was with his people in all that was done. Yahuwah delivered the heathen into their hand, from our land and from the city of David, and from the fortresses that were fortified. For from it the heathen surrounded and breached the sanctuary, and they defiled it and stopped the services of Yahuwah. 37, excuse me. But he placed Jews therein and fortified it for the safety of the country and the city, and raised up the walls of Jerusalem. King Demetrios also confirmed him in the high priesthood according to those things, and made him one of his friends, and honored him with great honor. All right, so remember King Demetrios, same dude. For he had heard say that the Romans had called the Jews their friends and confederates and brethren. So if you remember the last time when King Demetrios saw that Jonathan was making an alliance with Alexandrios, he kind of took that to heart, and it made him want to be friends with Judah, but they turned him down. Now King Demetrios is hearing that the Jews are friends with the Romans. It says, for he heard say that the Romans had called the Jews their friends and confederates and brethren. and that they had entertained the ambassadors of Simon honorably. Also, that the Jews and priests were well pleased that Simon should be their governor and high priest forever until there arise a faithful prophet in Israel. Moreover, that he should be their captain and should take charge of the sanctuary of Yahweh to set them over their works and over the country and over the armor and over the fortresses, that I say he should take charge of the sanctuary. Beside this, that he should be obeyed of every man, and that all the writings in the country should be made in his name, and that he should be clothed in purple and wear gold. So this is what Demetrios is declaring. It says also that it should be lawful for none of the people or priests to break any of these things, or to gainsay his words, or to gather an assembly in the country without him, or to be clothed in purple or wear a buckle of gold. And whosoever should do otherwise or break any of these, he should be punished. Thus it liked all the people to deal with Simon, and to do as had been said. Then Simon accepted hereof, and was well pleased to be high priest and captain and governor of the Jews and priests, and to defend them all. So they commanded that this writing should be put in tables of brass, and that they should be set up within the compass of the sanctuary in a conspicuous place. Also, that the copies thereof should be laid up in the treasury, to the end that Simon and his sons might have them. So now Simon is in position of the high priest and ruler. So once again, this sort of reflective of the kings in Israel, so to speak. These are the people during that time, because remember, once again, Israel is divided. All right. So you have the southern kingdom, and these all come out of Judah. You had Judas Maccabees, his father, him, Jonathan. Now you got Simon. They all come out of Judah. Moreover, Antiochus, son of Demetrios, the king, sent letters from the isles of the sea unto Simon the priest and prince of the Jews, and to all the people, the contents whereof were these: King Antiochus to Simon the high priest and prince of his nation, and to the people of the Jews, greeting. For as much as certain pestilent men have usurped the kingdom of our fathers, and my purpose is to challenge it again, that I may restore it to the old estate, and to that end have gathered a multitude of foreign soldiers together and prepared ships of war. My meaning also being to go through the country, that I may be avenged of them that have destroyed it and made many cities in the kingdom desolate. So this is Antiochus, son of Demetrios, sent these letters to Simon. He says, now therefore I confirm unto thee all the oblations which the kings before me granted thee, and whatsoever gifts beside they granted. I give thee leave also to coin money for thy country with thine own stamp. That's important. I think this is why there's a coin of the Maccabees. I think I have it. I'm going to look it up and show it. It says, I give thee leave also to coin money of thy country with thine own stamp. And as concerning Jerusalem and the sanctuary, let them be free, and all the armor that thou hast made, and fortresses that thou hast built, and keepest in thine hands, and let them remain unto thee. And if anything be or shall be owing to the king, let it be forgiven thee from this time forth forevermore. All right. Furthermore, when we have obtained our kingdom, we will honor thee and thy nation and thy temple with great honor, so that your honor shall be known throughout the world. In the 140th year, when Antiochus into the land of his fathers, at which time all the forces came together unto him, so that few were left with Tryphon. Wherefore, being pursued by King Antiochus, he fled unto Dora, which lieth by the seaside, for he saw that troubles came upon him all at once, and that his forces had forsaken him. Said fled unto Dora. You know what I ought to do? I'm going to come back through this and I'm going to look up some of these locations that is mentioned. See if I can come up with a map or something. It says, then camped Antiochus against Dora, having with him 120,000 men of war and 8,000 horsemen. And when he had compassed the city round about, and joined ships close to the town on the seaside, he vexed the city by land and by sea, neither suffered he any to go out or in. In the mean season came Numenios and his company from Rome, having letters to the kings and countries, wherein were written these things. Lucius, consul of the Romans, unto King Ptolemy, greeting. The Jews' ambassadors, our friends and confederates, came unto us to renew the old friendship and league, being sent from Simon the high priest, and from the people of the Jews. And they brought a shield of gold of 1,000 pounds. We thought it good, therefore, to write unto the kings and countries, that they should do them no harm, nor fight against them, their cities or countries, nor yet aid their enemies against them. So the Romans are writing to all of the nations not to bother the Jews at this particular time. It says, and if you go back and read, it was during the time of Judah's Maccabees when they first heard about the Romans and how great their empire was. It says, it seemed also good to us to receive the shield of them. If therefore there be any pestilent fellows that have fled from their country unto you, deliver them unto Simon the high priest, that he may punish them according to their own law. The same things wrote he likewise unto Demetrios the king, and Attalus, to Aritha, and Arshika, and to all the countries, and to Zamshikai, and the Spartans, and to Delos, and Mendos, and Shikon, and Quaria, and Zamos, and also the inhabitants of Pamphylia, and Lycia, and Halik Rantz, and Rhodesh, and Pazilos, and Q. And those some tough names, but these are our regions. I'm gonna come back and review this. See if maybe I can't come up with an old map or something. And the men of Zedosh, and Hardon, and Corinthia, and Grenados, and Cyprus, and Cyrene. And the copy hereof they wrote to Simon the high priest. So Antiochus the king encamped against Dora the second day, assaulting it continually, and making engines, by which means he shut up Tryphon, that he could neither go out nor in. At that time, Simon sent him 2,000 chosen men to aid him, silver also, and gold, and much armor. Nevertheless, he would not receive them, but break all the covenants which he had made afore and became strange to him. So now Alexandros is coming up against Tryphon's army. Simon sent to help him. He sent them away, and it says he brake all the covenants which he had made aforetime. Once again, furthermore, he sent unto him Athenibios, Atheniabos, one of his friends, to commune with him, and say, ye withhold Joppa and Uzzah with the tower that is in Jerusalem, which are the cities of my realm. The borders thereof ye have wasted and done great hurt in the land, and got the dominion of many places within my kingdom. Now therefore deliver the cities which ye have taken, and the tributes of the places whereof ye have gotten dominion without the border of Judah, or else give me for them 500 talents of silver, and for the harm that ye have done, and the tributes of the cities, other 500 talents. If not, we will come and fight against you. So he sent them silver and gold and sold this to help him, and he turned it away because he was going to go back on everything that he had agreed. So Athenobius, the king's friend, came to Jerusalem. And when he saw the glory of Simon and the cupboard of gold and the silver plate and his great attendants, he was astonished and told him the king's message. Then answered Simon and said unto him, we have neither taken other men's land, nor holden that which appertaineth to others, but the inheritance of our fathers, which our enemies had wrongfully in possession a certain time. Wherefore we, having opportunity, hold the inheritance of our fathers. In other words, this stuff belongs to us. And whereas thou demandest Joppa and Uzzah, howbeit they did great harm unto the people in our country, yet we will give thee 100 talents for them. Hereunto Athenobius answered him no word. So he said, as for these cities did us great harm. He said, yet I will give thee 100 talents for them. Hereunto Athenobius answered him not a word. How many did he ask for? He said he asked for other 500 talents. He said, no, I'm not giving you that. And I'm not giving you the borders that belong to us and our forefathers. But these other two cities, they did us harm. We avenged ourselves on them. I'll give you 100 talents for them. That's what I'm giving you. So he answered him not a word, but returned in a rage to the king and made report unto him of these speeches and of the glory of Simon and of all that he had seen, whereupon the king was exceeding wroth. They got all that gold and silver and they can't give us what we asked for. So now they mad at what we got. They mad at our glory once again. In the meantime, fled Tryphon by ship unto Arthushah. Then the king made Quindibios captain of the seacoast and gave him an host of footmen and horsemen, and commanded him to remove his host toward Judah. Also, he commanded him to build up Kidron and to fortify the gates and to war against the people. But as for the king himself, he pursued Tryphon. So Quindibios came to Yabni and began to provoke the people and to invade Judah and to take the people prisoners and to slay them. And when he had built up Kidron, he set horsemen there and an host of footmen, to the end that issuing out they might make roads upon the ways of Judah, as the king had commanded him. I don't know about y'all, but when I read through these books, it's almost like I'm watching a series or something like Game of Thrones or something like that. Trust me, you can get your entertainment from reading, but we're at 16. Then came up John from Uzzah and told Simon his father what Kendibios had done. Wherefore Simon called his two eldest sons, Judah and John, and said unto them, From our youth until now, I and my brethren and my father's house have fought against the enemies of Israel. And Yahuwah has prospered our ways to deliver Israel from their hands. But now I am old, and ye, by Elohim's mercy, are of a sufficient age. But be ye instead of me and my brothers, and go and fight for our nation, and the help from heaven will be with you. So he chose out of the country 20,000 men of war with horsemen, who went out against Kendibios and rested that night at Modin. And when as they rose in the morning and went into the plain, behold, a mighty great host, both of footmen and horsemen, came against them. Howbeit, there was a water brook betwixt them. So he and his people pitched over against them. And when he saw that the people were afraid to go over the water brook, he went first over himself, and then the men, seeing him, passed through after him. That done, he divided his men and set the horsemen in the midst of the footmen, for the enemy's horsemen were very many. Then sounded they with the holy trumpets, whereupon Kendibios and his hosts were put to flight, so that many of them were slain, and the remnant got them to the stronghold. At that time was Judah, Jonathan's brother, wounded, but Jonathan still followed after them until he came to Kidron, and Kendibios had built, which Kendibios had built. He built up a fortress there. So they fled even unto the towers in the fields of Ashdod. Wherefore he burnt it with fire, so that there were slain of them about 2,000 men. Afterward, he returned into the land of Judah in peace. Moreover, in the plain of Jericho was Ptolemaeus, the son of Kagav, made captain, and he had abundance of silver and gold, for he was the high priest's son-in-law. Wherefore, his heart being lifted up, he thought to get the country to himself, and thereupon consulted deceitfully against Simon and his sons to destroy them. So you had, what was his name? Son of Kagav. Moreover, in the plain of Jericho was Ptolemaeus, son of Kagav, made captain in Jericho, and he had abundance of silver and gold, for he was the high priest's son-in-law. Wherefore his heart being lifted up, he thought to get the country to himself, and thereupon consulted deceitfully against Simon and his sons to destroy them. So once, it looked like every time somebody was set up among our people, it was always a conspiracy against them to destroy them. Now let's see how this was carried out. Now Simon was visiting the cities that were in the country and taking care for the good ordering of them, at which time he came down himself to Jericho with his sons, Mattathiah and Judah, in the 170th year, in the 11th month called Sabbat, where the son of Kagav receiving them deceitfully into a little hold. So he went down into Jericho because they were checking on the welfare of the people. It says, where the son of Kagah receiving them deceitfully into a little hold called Doeg, which he had built, made them a great banquet. Howbeit, he had men hid there. So he invited them to the party once again, fattening them up for the kill. It says, which he had built, made them a great banquet. Howbeit, he had hid men there. So when Simon and his sons had drunk largely, so they got drunk, ate good, drunk good, what happened? Talmai and his men rose up and took their weapons and came upon Simon into the banqueting place and slew him and his 2 sons and certain of his servants. So when Simon and his sons had drunk largely, Talmai and his men rose up and took their weapons and came upon Simon into the banqueting place and slew him and his sons, his 2 sons, and certain of his servants, in which doing he committed great treachery and recompensed evil for good. Then Talmai wrote these things and sent to the king that he should send him an host to aid him, and he would deliver him the country and cities. He sent others also to Uzzah to kill Jonathan, and unto the tribunes he sent letters to come unto him, that he might give them silver and gold and rewards. And others sent he to take Jerusalem and the mountain of the people. Now one had run before to Uzzah and told John that his father and brethren were slain, and quoth he, Talmai had sent to slay thee. So one escaped when all these plans were being set up. One escaped, and it says told John, because that was one of his sons. That was one of Simon's sons. He only took 2 of his sons with him. Herefore, when he heard, he was so astonished. So he laid hands on them that were come to destroy them and slew them, for he knew that they sought to make him away. As concerning the rest of the acts of John and his wars, and worthy deeds which he did, and the building of the walls which he made, and his doings, behold, these are written in the chronicles of his priesthood, from the time he was made high priest after his father. Man, a lot of treachery, a lot of backstabbing, a lot of setups. You know, gotta be aware. Be aware of the enemy. Be aware of who the enemy is. Sometimes the enemy is closer than you think. Let's see who we got in the chat. That concludes 1st Maccabees. We're going to get into 2nd Maccabees next. Got my love in the chat. Shalom, my love. Good to see you, as always. Got the brother J.P. Young, Jason Phillip McCauley. Shalom and blessings, bro. Good to see you. Hope all is well. Miss T. Adams, shalom and blessings to you. Good to see you. Thank y'all for joining in. Sister Yvette Rivera, shalom and blessings to you. Good to see you once again. DJ Brightside 206, shalom and blessings to you, fam. Glad to have you. Sister Cindy Carr, shalom and blessings. Good to see you, Sister Cindy. Hope all is well. We got Shareed S, shalom and blessings to you. Hope all is well. Got Sister Linya Yisrael, shalom and blessings to you. Good to have you once again, as always. It's a blessing to have you. Sister Carolyn Wesley, Shalom and Blessings. Good to see you in the chat once again. Sister Pensy Lola, Yah bless, Shalom. Good to see you, sis. We got Sister Aniana Coleman, Shalom and Blessings to you. Good to see you once again. We have Mr. The Original School, Shalom and Blessings. Good to see you, Mr. The Original School. Once again, we have Levataya Shashana Malik. Shalom and blessings to you, sis. Good to see you in the chat. Hope all is well. I think she's sister over at Kaya Shua. Glad to have you for this segment. Who else we got? We have Brother Aliyah Yashrala, the Mighty Lion. Shalom and blessings to you. Good to see you, bro. Once again, who else we got? Like this, everybody in the chat. We got Brother T. I see you, Brother T. Shalom and blessings to you. Hope all is well. We got the Brother Smitty as well. Shalom and blessings. Good to see everybody in the chat. If you haven't already, for those who haven't chimed in, hit the like button, the subscribe button. These readings, the purpose for these readings is, like I said, for us to sit down and really read. These are things that people can do in your free time, in your own time. But, having a platform, a place where you can do these things would be good as well. So when you read all the way through, you familiarize yourself with the information and with your history, and you come across more information, more detailed information that help you understand things more. And so this is something that I love to do, something that I'm glad the Most High put in me to do. And as long as He allow it, I'm gonna continue to do it, get better with it. It also help you familiarize yourself with reading the Bible more, getting more skill with just reading the Bible. Because y'all see how it is coming across some of those names, that I'm reading from a Hebrew translation. So it's all good exercise in all aspects of it. I'm reading from the Hebrew Israelite Scriptures, HebrewIsraeliteScriptures.com. And I think they have a promotion going on right now. The promo code is Vocab Malone. You go over to the site and do that after sundown, and you'll get you a discount and build up the library and contribute to the work. So I want to thank everybody for chiming in. I want to thank everybody for your time once again. When we come back, we're going to pick it up in 2 Maccabees 2, or 2 Maccabees, rather. We're going to pick it up there and continue on with the history. And I think once we finish 2 Maccabees, I think we may get into the writings of the kings in the Old Testament. And from there, I'll start getting more suggestions on what you brothers and sisters think about good books to read all the way through. We'll take a survey on that, but that'll be for another time. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to my Heavenly Father, to His Son, and to His Holy Spirit. I want to thank you, brothers and sisters, once again for your time. See y'all on the next one. Shalom.